Hey, all you wanderlusters and hometown heroes. This is Remain, Roam, Return, a podcast that pits your hometown lifestyle against the allure of far-off frontiers. In the show, we are going to try to settle the age-old debate on whether it is better to be the local legend or the one that got away.
And we are your host. I am Christian.
And I am Damien.
And together, we are going to spend each episode trying to discover which lifestyle truly is best. Is it better to stay close to the roots that raised you, or to fly away into the unknown?
Yep, and during these conversations, we will be discussing personal experiences and asking guests for their input to decide once and for all whether it is better to remain, roam, or return. Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Triple R podcast, Remain, Roam, Return. I'm just going to get right into it, quite frankly. We specifically told him that
I was all prepared. I had my bit about my best choice cola because soda's just getting too expensive, and so I'm not a name brand snob, but now I'm at the point where, yes, I'm drinking best choice cola from the local grocery store.
You've officially turned into an old Midwest man. I love it.
That's true. The funny thing is there was an old Midwest man behind me who commented on the price of soda. So
there you go.
And then I ended the conversation very quickly because I think he was about to go on a very political tangent, and I was like, I'm not mentally prepared for this right now. So
they're taking over.
I was like, you could tell he was about to just start going, and I was like, please cashier, start skating as quickly as possible.
They say something just vague enough to almost draw you in and be like, what are you talking about? And that's how they fucking get you.
That's how they get you.
Speaking of Midwest folk, we have a very, very special guest, from the Midwest, Mike Burns. What is going on, dude? What an honor.
Hey, fellas, nice to be here in 1982 where people drink store brand cola.
The best part is about this was I was like, I wonder how much caffeine this has in it, because I think it's an FDA law. Things have to say how much caffeine is in it. Nope. Best choice cola does not follow the FDA law.
I don't feel like that's prominent on a Mountain Dew or a Coca-Cola. I've never seen a caffeine content on those.
You do nowadays.
Well, how do you not just stop drinking? Oh, I call it pop, soda, whatever you want to call it.
Pop.
How do you degrade yourself with what is it? What's the brand name on that?
It's Best Choice Cola.
Best
choice.
And I also, more white trashness of me, I've put rum in it in just the can. You know how you do a little sippy and then you're like top it off?
You have completely redeemed yourself.
There it is.
Now it's great. It's perfect. Absolute perfection now.
And I was joking with Damien. I actually prefer my rum not to be with a name brand soda, because then it just throws it off. I prefer a generic cola or an RC cola if it's.
Well, when you're spending so much money on soda nowadays, you don't want to tarnish it with some alcohol. You want to get the real deal.
The pureness.
Right. Don't ruin a nice red, perfect can of Coca-Cola with what kind of rum is that?
I'm assuming the worst choice.
Yeah, is it worst choice rum?
It's best choice pop and worst choice rum.
I can't even remember the name of it.
There it is. I knew it.
It definitely came in a 175 handle of
plastic.
Clear plastic bottle. It might be Barton's brand.
No.
Barton's. The choice of consumer. Wow, that is a massive hangover.
On a school night. That is terrible. I on the other hand, am sipping on the Mike Burns classic of blue Gatorade and champagne.
Oh, hydration don't need a reason to celebrate. That's fantastic.
That's what I'm talking about.
I have a mango ginger tea. I'm sorry to disappoint.
There you go.
There's nothing illicit in there. I can't judge you. I used to drink in college Newport vodka, which was $5. You know, Maine, where vodka's everyone knows. This is before Tito's. This is like American made. Not only American made, it was made in Maine, and it had boats on it. There's boats because that's vodka is all about sailing and competitive boat races. And it had the boats. And it was $5 for a plastic fifth, and I would mix that with apple juice.
Ooh.
And for some apple juice and vodka, it's not bad. It really masks it. You don't want the full flavor of the Newport vodka.
No.
So I would get breakout in hives, or not hives, but like rashes. I'd get rashes from it.
You had the Asian glow, the Asian flush.
I would definitely get some sort of flush. It's the Irish flush, which you could just drag your nails across any part of my body. I'm gonna be raw dog for a long time. But
the eczema effect.
Yes.
Yeah. My buddy would I'd be like, I'm covered in this rash. He'd be like, stop drinking that. I'm like, well, it tastes good.
But it's cheap.
It's cheap, and I already drank some, so what's the point of stopping?
Right.
And then, subsequent times I would also drink it, but then he'd drop Macho Man elbows on me. So I had mitral valve prolapse, which would give my heart would just get this little pinch.
Yeah.
And his cure for that was drop elbows on me while I was having these severe chest pains, which aren't wasn't going to kill me or anything. It just hurt for a second. And I grew out of that, but then I would get the rash. So we figured the same remedy would be the same elbow drops on me. So, Newport vodka, guaranteed to give you a rash.
Damn. So you're hanging out with doctors.
Oh, he's a border patrol agent now, so he knows what's going on.
Yes.
Brute force. He learned brute force for all things, all the cure for everything. Brute force.
That does. Me and Damien have talked about it on a previous episode. We used to do. We called them monster bombs, but essentially they were the white monster with vodka and little Jaeger bomb cups. Yeah, that's a drink of youth. That's no. If someone gave me that, I'd drink it now. I wouldn't like them for it, but the way I would feel the next day would be definitely affected.
It's the drink of the youth and the doctor's office visits of the old.
Right.
That's what I'm discovering now.
It leads to a lot of bloody knees. Falling.
Falling. Oh,
that's what I was like. I don't remember this. I must have been blackout.
Yeah, you drink white. Here's the thing: you drink White Monster and Jaeger. You mix that up. You do a bunch of monster bombs. You can't keep dicks out of your mouth. That's a guarantee. That's a guarantee. That's why
no wonder we started this podcast.
That's why it's the White Monster. That's what they call them, White Monsters. And then,
and you know what? 0 calories.
Zero calories.
You gotta get
0 calories.
I'm all about health. That's why I do this.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God. What a fucking intro. Anyways, we're past the 7-minute mark, so I can say that. So anyways, like I was saying, Mike Burns is here, coming out the gate strong. Mike Burns, could you do us a favor and kind of introduce yourself for people who may not know you for whatever reason?
Sure. I was a stand-up comedian for a long, long time. I don't know, 2 decades. And I wrote for some television shows. I was also the creator of the Dad Boner Twitter account, which is probably my most popular accolade. Mm-hmm. And that in turn, I had a book called Power Moves that was written by that character. And I used to design baby clothes, and I have a podcast called Power Moves with Mike Burns. And I lived in Chicago. I lived in Chicago for 7 years, New York for 4 or 5, and then 12 to 14 of Los Angeles. And then during COVID, I moved back to Saginaw, Michigan, where I am here today.
Yes.
Perfect. Yes. No, I told my wife I had to say this because we both listened to Power Moves.
How does that go? Can I? how does that go with the wife? Because there's a lot of things I say on that show, and I know I have a primarily male fan base, but there's a lot of things out of pocket that we say that I always wonder what the reaction from, because you're in the car or whatever, and and I'm not saying that women don't appreciate raunchier type humor, but what is her reaction when things get a little bit over the top?
Some misses.
Sure. Yeah.
No, Mrs.
Mrs. Yes.
Yeah. Mrs. Reynolds.
Yes.
That's who we're talking about, in case you forget.
But we do. We now catch ourselves saying all the time, though, "You're making money," in reference to really anything.
Yeah.
You're making money.
You're making money. Well, which I'm not with that podcast, but
Hey, us either.
I have a lot of integrity. Of integrity. It's all mine. It's that's the thing, is I continually turn down small sponsorships because now I got to do this for this amount. It's not gonna. And then once in a while, the checking account gets a little bit low around rent time. I'm like, maybe Dr. Goop's energy potion. Maybe I should sell out for that.
Yeah.
Goes great with Barton's vodka.
Great with Barton's.
Absolutely.
Great. Oh, you're sucking dick all night long.
Yeah.
Barton's White Monster Energy Goop. You're drunk and you're cranked, and it's time to get it on. Open up and say hi to all the new dicks that you'll be sucking down at the Shell station with Steve Bartman's rum.
I am sold.
You won't drop the ball with this one.
Or the soap.
Oh, you might want to.
I mean, no judgment if you do.
Yeah. No judgment.
So, I'm glad that you mentioned Dad Boner because, I'm actually glad and unglad because I actually really, really thought about introducing you as Carl Welsing, but I wasn't sure if that would be acceptable or not.
I'm a pretty easygoing guy, man. Whatever you want, it's fine.
All right, cut all of this. Welcome back to the Triple R podcast. Today we have with us Carl Welsing, the everyman of Twitter.
And the world is, if you're familiar with that account, it's really difficult for me to, I very sporadically post anything on that anymore because the world has turned into Carl Welsing.
Yeah.
And it really did. And it really ruined that character. For a decade ago, everything that happened in that account was absurd.
Yeah.
But now every menu looks like something that was laughable as a food product or a menu item that guy made up. People behave in a way that Carl Welsing, a joke person who was so absurd and over the top that it was a massive joke to anyone reading it. Now, that's just what other people are like in the world. And it's kind of killed it. It kind of killed it for me.
It is not satire anymore.
It killed it for me. I think I could still squeeze something out of it there. But
so what was the genius? Like, what made you want to start Carl and go with it? He sounds also very Midwesterner in a lot of aspects.
A lot of it was that I always liked doing characters on stage. I did sketch comedy for a long time, but then I would do stand-up characters. So a bunch of various ones I would do on stage. And for Twitter, it was like making up a character that I could become without having to be that person, like a Larry the Cable Guy. Because I wrote that down in a notebook before that. If I gain 40 pounds, grow hair out, do this, dress this way, become a character, you can become famous. You're good enough at comedy. And then I essentially did that with that Twitter character. And it was, and a lot of it was that character was a lot of the parts of me that I tried to fight against or didn't want to become like, or it was also something that I feared becoming if I hadn't made certain life choices. I think that I would be susceptible to becoming that type of guy. And now, well, Here I am, bitch. Back in. I am real close, except for all my cultured tastes. I'm right in the thick of it.
It's actually funny that you mentioned like you were trying not to become this certain like Midwest guy, right? And because of your cultured tastes, you prolonged that experience. And one of the questions that we have a lot is like, do you feel like you should leave your hometown to kind of gain some experience and learn who you truly are? So it's funny that you're saying that. Do you feel like that is kind of true to a certain extent, like getting different experiences?
Absolutely. I think that everyone should live a year in New York if they're able to. I think that if you do that, it gives you a complete different perspective on the world. And it is that's the cliche, make it there, make it anywhere, but it's true. Things that I went through living in big cities, and then coming back here, it's just a delight. It's not perfect, but there's so many, like the neighborhood that I live in is arguably an old Brooklyn neighborhood where it wasn't completely hippified and gutted, because it has little sprinkles of. I've got a great hipstery coffee shop that I go to every day, which is Saginaw, Michigan prices. And I have a great little pizza place where they make just as good of a slice as anywhere I've seen. I put it in my top 5 of everywhere I've lived, every slice of pizza. Great sandwich place. It's just enough. Mm-hmm. There's not a lot of options, but I'm a man of habit. So I don't need to go try out the new fancy downtown steakhouse because I don't really have the pocket for it anyway. So
I think, so me and Damien sometimes compete against each other with these because he's what we would call a roamer. He'd never going to come back to the Midwest. And I'm a returner who I left. I actually lived in Michigan for a hot second in Ypsilanti, which is a very interesting place to live in.
Sure. Yeah.
One memory that sticks out. So I was working for the University of Michigan, but could not afford to live in Ann Arbor because Ann Arbor is very expensive.
Yeah.
But the local Popeyes, the way you would get your food, it was through a bulletproof Lazy Susan.
Mm-hmm. No, that's that adds up for Ypsilanti. Yeah.
And it was just a shock. But so I think I might be leading it already, Damien, as a score for the returners.
I don't know. We got to get more into it. I don't want to give you that. I don't want to give it that easily, which is the first time I've ever said that in my entire life. As a matter of fact, I don't want to give it up that easily.
Well, you might need a couple monster smashes. And
I am currently sitting on a chair instead of sitting on my knees, so we have some time left.
You're also drinking champagne and blue Gatorade. If that makes that happen, then I think it's not really the fault of the alcohol, the beverage. I think it's just kind of a choice that you're using the excuse to enjoy.
It's baby steps out of the closet.
There you go.
Easier to do in LA.
Yeah. So one of the things I wanted to ask too is, you're a man of many skills, many talents, and of many places that you've been. Hey,
sorry. Is that blowing out the thing?
Nope.
Yes.
You decide who you believe. So did you love or hate LA?
There were a lot of things that I loved about it. In general, when there was nothing good going on, I really didn't see the point of it. When COVID hit and there was no real options for work or to try and sell a TV show or get a writing job, and everything was just kind of gone, it really exposed itself as being a difficult place to live without any real benefit on its own, except for and I take that back. During COVID, it was nice that you could go up and go into the hills and hike. You could do that. Mm-hmm. That was something I don't think that I really took advantage of as much as I should have. I did before, but during COVID was when it was, oh, well, there's this. And then, um, and also I never played golf until COVID.
Right.
And I lived on a golf course. I lived on a par 3 golf course, and I had buddies that played who hadn't played in a while. And that was the bar. We put on masks and stayed 6 feet away from each other outside on a golf course.
Yeah.
And wiped our balls and clubs down and whatever insane things that we were tricked into doing.
And that both is and isn't a euphemism.
Yeah.
And so that was a benefit that came out of that. But yeah, it was kind of exposed as what it was when party time was taken away and the career was kind of dead.
That makes sense.
What I think.
I'm sorry. I hate that I didn't necessarily really even answer that. I loved the people. I loved the massive amount of friends that I had there. And I loved street tacos, and the weather was nice sometimes, but I'm not a super hot weather guy. So yeah, I take it for what it was a nice place to live for a while, but after a certain point, I was like, I'm just poor. And no matter what job I have, even when I'd have a decent job, I knew that job was going to end. And even so, with the money that I had, it wasn't enough. Well, I would live like a king in a place like this.
Right.
And I was just still, well, checking's overdrawn again. It didn't matter if I was poor or had a good job. It was all kind of the same because you're just spinning your wheels on a hamster wheel and you just never can catch up.
Yeah. Actually, you said something. I know Christian has a question, but you said something that is very interesting to me because it's almost the antithesis of what I've always said about living in LA. I've lived here for about 6.5 years now. And you mentioned it was a great place for like hanging out with people and stuff like that. And I've actually, one of my biggest pet peeves about LA is that seems to be the opposite for me. And so would you say that that's more of a comedy related thing, or were you just in the hub of the people?
Yeah, I mean, I did stand up for so long, and everyone tends to be funneled to Los Angeles. So I had a massive Chicago comedy crew, and then I had a big New York comedy crew, and then I had all the people I met in LA from the people that I met in those places that also moved there, and then branched out and this isn't braggy, but I remember having a birthday party when I was late 30s, and there would be 200-300 people at it, and that was just because that was the thing to do that night, and I felt like every week was someone else's birthday party the same way. It was, and then that generation of people, I feel like, got married or they got older and aged out, and the party kind of slowed down for them, and it slimmed out, and then the party scene was all kind of gone. And some people said, well, it was still around, but you just got older. And I don't think that's necessarily the same truth, because it's a generation below mine that is much more inclined to stay at home. They're more, and we were the last generation of people who were outdoor kids who didn't have computers. I didn't have a cell phone until I was 2 years or a year at least out of college. I'd never owned a cell phone. I never had a computer, owned one until after college. Think about that.
That is,
I'm the last grandpa. I didn't until I was 23. I didn't own a computer. So when you ask me how to do stuff or why I don't know, that's why. Because Grandpa had a notebook and a pen.
You were pushing a hoop down the street with a stick.
Oh yeah. It's a hot look.
It is. No.
All right, Christian.
Good exercise. Great exercise. I was just gonna talk about how, like you were saying, Damien keeps trying to get me to move out to LA so we can do this podcast in person. And I was like,
so much better.
But the lifestyle I have in Lincoln, Nebraska, and like where I live and like location, like you were talking about, Burns, about how like your favorite coffee shop's right there. Like the ease to get the things you enjoy is so easy. And like for what I have here in Lincoln, I would have to make so much money in LA to afford that same lifestyle. Like,
oh yeah, I have my apartment in New York would be $6, $7, $8, $10,000 a month. I won't tell you. I won't tell you what it is, but it's way cheaper than you could ever imagine, and it is my dream apartment, and it is so dirt cheap because people here don't want to live where I live.
Yeah.
I live on a river, a beautiful river with an island across the river
I got a
that you can
water
ride your
view!
plane. Yeah, I have a water view in a nicer neighborhood than the places I was paying $2,000 a month or $1,500 or whatever I was paying a month in Los Angeles, living in a very high crime, gang ridden neighborhood. Once in a while, like someone got shot at my liquor store, but they don't shoot. They're shooting someone for a drug territory.
Right.
In Los Angeles, I got stabbed because I was on the wrong block, and that's the difference.
I was just telling Damien
Christian
about
specifically said that. Yeah.
Yep, that you got stabbed and then continued to wear that jacket that you got stabbed in.
Still wear it. I still wear it.
Is it one of those things where it's like lightning doesn't strike twice? If I show it off, they know not to stab me again?
No, but personally, I feel like I'm not going to get stabbed twice. Got that out of the way. I mean, if it happened again, that's fate. There's nothing I can do about it. But I think I'm pretty good for until I get in the pine box.
You just look real stabbable, man. You have that look like senior yearbook superlative. Most likely to get stabbed. Michael Burns.
Most of my friends do say I have a very punchable face, so. I have a perpetual shit-eating grin that it just sits a little different when I say something nasty to you.
I wonder if it's an Irish thing, because I have heard the very same thing about myself.
That's probably it. People don't like when you're happily insulting them.
Yeah.
If you're mad at them, they can reciprocate that energy, but when you're happy about it, it's punching time.
Yeah. It's like the... I'm so mad at you, but I also can't be bothered effect. And people are like, why aren't you more mad? You're like, I just don't give a shit about it.
Yeah, I just don't care.
I drank Monster Bombs and sucked dick on my knees. I don't.
There you go. There you go.
You've been the lowest you could be.
Then you run out of Monster Bombs. You got to suck dick for Monster Bombs. It's a vicious cycle.
Oh, full circle.
Full circle. Told you it would happen.
Yep. It is.
I mean, it doesn't have to be dicks. You could be able to do a lot of things. Eat old ladies' butts. Oh, sorry. Is this going too far?
I think we started out before the podcast started about Damien asking you what size is your asshole.
He did, and I appreciate that. I like that the ice was broken. That all right, here we go. We've taken the gloves off. You don't have to. We don't have to pretend anymore.
Yeah, you can't podcast with a perfect stranger unless you know their asshole size.
Maybe
that's just what I've always said.
Maybe that's a show that you should spin off to. Maybe that's the whole thing. You just have guys on and ladies, what have you. And
no, men only.
Men
okay.
Only.
It's inappropriate to ask women their butthole size.
Okay. No, probably true. It's probably true.
Yeah. But you get a couple of Monster Bombs in there.
That has been a topic on the podcast, but in reference to Mickey Mantle.
Yeah.
You had a discussion about Mickey Mantle's backdoor?
Well, it started off with him wearing diapers, and then that led into, he did too much anal, so that's why he had to wear the diapers.
I thought it wasn't because he was a booze bag and just was incontinent?
That's exactly how it started.
Well, when you're doing Monster Bombs all the time, he's the original father of the Monster Bomb, if you did not. Mickey Mantle.
Seven loved the Monster Bombs. That was his thing.
Praise be. Rest in peace.
Is he dead?
Is he dead? I don't even know if he's dead, actually.
Mickey Mantle? Oh, he's long dead, yeah.
Okay, thank God. Right. Sometimes I say rest in peace way too early. They're that dude is 17 years old. He's not dead.
He liked the sauce much too much to have that liver last until we're here in present day.
Anyways, all right, Christian, ask a fucking question. Get this thing popping off.
So, Burnt, your born and bred Saginaw, right?
Yes.
How was it coming back for you?
Very, very difficult. It was a square peg that I'd become being pushed back into the round hole that I came from. And I think that I had changed enough that everything was a complete shock. I was depressed. I drank a lot. It was some days I had felt no purpose. And for a long time, it took me maybe 2 years before I started to get some sort of footing and feel like I do present day. But it was really bad, just mentally. And it wasn't that it was bad to live here. It was that I just crawled out of my skin. And I feel like, and I've talked about this with stand-up comedy before, that when you stop, it's like a drug. It gives you a rush. It gives you endorphins. It gives you all these things that once you don't get that, you can't get that from anything else.
Yeah.
You just can't. And I think that I just was so conditioned to being in a big city where the energy surrounding you and your friends' availabilities to you and being around all the time and constant go energy. And when it slows down to that crawl of a pace that is here, and I just didn't know what to do with myself. I was that term beside yourself, where you feel like you're outside your body. I felt like that for a long time.
Yeah. No, I can see that, especially like, do you still have friends who never left who are still there?
Los Angeles? Oh yeah. Endless amount. Yeah.
And then did you have friends that you grew up in Saginaw that never left Saginaw?
There is some that have gone and then come back, but it's a very, very small amount. Yeah. And I think that the life that I had in those bigger cities like Los Angeles, there was always goals, and that was the whole point of it.
Yeah.
The whole point of living there was focused around becoming successful.
Yeah.
And in the entertainment industry, and no other fashion, just becoming either famous or rich or a TV producer or a TV mogul or whatever. That's all that mattered. I didn't have any purpose when that was taken away. And I think what I learned when I moved back here, that took a long time, I think I'm going on over 3 years now, is that the purpose now is me. I'm the purpose. I'm the show is what my adage is. I'm like, wherever I go, I'm the show. I don't need the stage. I don't need the pitch room. I just need me. And slowly you start to get into that settle into that, and everything starts to make more sense, and goals turn into other goals. Those go by the wayside because those never made me happy anyway.
Yeah.
When any of those successes I had, they were empty joys. They were things that were just they weren't real. It was just a rush. It was just no different than killing in front of 50 people or something. It was the same feeling as selling a show or getting a job on something or making money at comedy. And now I've filled those holes in with what I think are better lifelong things.
Yeah.
And I chose happiness because I wanted to leave for a long time after I came back here. I wanted to get the fuck out as soon as possible, but there was just to do what? And how do I get the money to do that? And how do I return to like a Los Angeles? I considered Charlotte. I considered Portland. It's just I could go anywhere. And for one reason or another, I'm still here. But that thought process of it's just me. And like, that's what's important is personal happiness to me. And it took me a long, long time. I'm 49 years old. I didn't really grasp that until I didn't grasp a lot of things until maybe the last 2 years when I.
So that's
super
like
poignant.
Moving back, like kind of opened up your eyes a little bit of like getting out of LA might have been the best thing, but
right, yeah, and again, like there were circumstances that I broke up with a girlfriend that I lived with. It was COVID. It was just like I thought about going to other cities, and the idea was go back home, take my sweet ass time. I took 2 weeks to drive back to Saginaw from Los Angeles, and I stopped all I wanted and just hung out in hotels because I had bucket loads of Biden money or Trump bucks or whatever they were at the time, and I just blew it and had fun because fuck it. And but then the dust settled when I came back here, and I was pretty bummed out.
Yeah. Well, and you mentioned that was a super poignant thing where you're like, I'm the party, I'm the show, right?
Yeah.
And that's super, super important, not only in the prospect of like moving back home, but I think in life in general. I think that's a super poignant thing that maybe people can take from you as an example. But how much of that mindset that you just described is a matter of readapting or just the ability to adapt? And how much of that do you think was like, I have to, right? Like, were you pushing yourself, or was it just like, this is just what life is, so I'm just going to adapt to it? Or were you pushing for that like acceptance?
I feel like when I came back here, I really got into like dive bar scene. That was comforting to me. I love dive bars. I love cozy bars. And I made a huge amount of dive bar friends. And I'm not going to call it dive bar. The bar I go to, shout out to the Scottish Inn, is it's an incredible bar. And I made friends with the owner, all the bartenders, all the regulars. And because I have a lot of free time on my hands as a single man who works from home, I could pop in. So I had buddies that were day drinkers. I had Friday night guys, Saturday. And then drinking a whole bunch and spending time in a bar for a person who is susceptible to depression and anxiety like I am, it just kind of got to a tipping point where I couldn't. I was like, there has to be more. There has to be more for me here. And so I started going to that coffee shop more. And then I met, daytime bar. It's daytime bar. And to be fair, a good portion of the people after work at this Scottish Inn bar are at the coffee shop in the morning. So, but those are the functioning ones. You can tell the functioning ones because they're up early in the morning to get coffee, and then they go to after work drinks. But then you started to get into this blurred area of thinking it's acceptable to live that way all the time, which for me before in Los Angeles, it was, because most comics are booze bags. They all want to party. They all want to stay up till 4 a.m. every night. So I had to make some really serious life decisions and it's from a golf show. It's an instructional golf channel show. British guy and this hot babe, and they do chipping drills or whatever, and I forget the name of it. But at the end of it, he always says something to the effect of, it's on a Post-it on my refrigerator, and there's 2 Post-its that I have, and these 2 things are both very beneficial to me. Like a couple of years ago, it's still up there, was if you keep giving what you're getting, you'll keep getting what you're getting. Something to that effect. And I was like, oh yeah, of course your life you're not going to find more joy or happiness because you're just doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different outcome. And then the other one, just for completion's sake, is Tom Petty, most things I worry about never happen anyway. And again, that was a combination of the 2 things of worrying, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? I'm like, well, stop worrying about it because it's not going to really have any effect on it. And the other thing was, well, try to make some different choices, harder choices, and do things that are more difficult, and challenge yourself and try and find people that, for lack of a better term, are more high value people. Mm-hmm. So I joined a golf league, which isn't necessarily, more of a functioning alcoholic type thing.
You're still outside, you're moving and grooving.
And then slightly over a year ago, a year, 3 months or so, I started to do yoga. Ooh. And I have developed, it's a wonderful community of people, mm-hmm. and all positive. And you know, I feel like, people who go to church, go to the Catholic Church or whatever, and they have this joy and they feel this real sincere, like, happiness. And I never got that. I grew up Catholic. I don't know why this is supposed to be happy, because I want to hang myself in the sacristy during Mass by mm-hmm. sitting here listening to this. And now I get it now. When I go there, that's like church. Mm-hmm. And I feel completely alleviated of any issues or mental blocks or anything. And practicing yoga is it's a thing that you do all the time. So mm-hmm. it teaches you all these techniques and ways of thought that have really changed a lot of things for me. And it's not super cool to go on a gush about yoga. Most of my friends are sick of it, but it really has made a massive difference in just the quality of life that I have. And it's made me appreciate how much I have as opposed to the stuff that I want.
Yeah.
Which
fits. I'm sure that's a huge shift between, living in LA or New York or being in the industry, where it's like you said, you can't keep giving what you're giving and expect to get more. You know what I mean? But it's like when you're just sitting around waiting for a big opportunity to come around, what are you doing in the meantime? And when you shift out of that, it seems like you made that mental choice to be like, look, I can't just sit around, because then I start to go into these cycles of whatever it may be. I'm going to choose my own destiny. So that's really fucking cool, man.
Yeah. And I think it goes along with a lot of things. And that would go to the pro column of living where I live and having the freedom of monetary freedom of having, I don't make a lot of money. I have a medium income job that's just enough for me. But in a place like this, I have such my stress level is very, very low. Once in a while it peaks, but that's it never is to the point that I lived with on a daily basis in Los Angeles. And just not having the anxiety of, can I pay my cell phone bill? Can I pay buy gas? Can I do anything without it having a severe impact on me being able to live a normal life? I don't have that anymore. And because of that, I can enjoy things again, which I didn't before. I can read books. I read books now and I love it. And it's quiet and I read my book, and I nenever did that before. The golf thing, I can golf on a Thursday at 2:00 if I want. And I don't care, because it doesn't affect me. It's not like a big disaster if I go to that bar one extra time or whatever. And it's made me be able to focus on things that are healthy and really live life like a real person. Like, it's fucking wild to me. It's all this simple shit. My eyes are so wide open to simple things that I never appreciated before, because I was just so pissed off at the world.
I'm having feelings again, dude.
Yeah.
I have a much different mindset in general, and I sleep. I never slept for even when I was a kid. I had horrible sleeping patterns, and up until, again, a year or so ago, I just couldn't sleep at night, and it was pure torture. I sleep all night like a baby. I take a half of melatonin, and I'm big into this ashwagandha root that I'm cycling out of right now. I'm doing a month off, but that opened my brain up, and it made me sleep, and it just better than any Xanax or anything that Zoloft or things that I've been prescribed that worked, and I never had the clarity. I just never had the clarity in the chaos of living in a Los Angeles type situation to do things that made me more awake and aware to my surroundings and be able to enjoy life, because I was in the bottom of a bottle for a good percentage of that, because it didn't matter if I wasn't drunk at night. I had to sit in the misery and really face it. And one of those things like, hey, you're broke. You got $20. You're going to buy food. Or you're going to buy some Mick Blanton's white jizz or whatever you're drinking. I'm buying that Mick Blanton's white jizz every time.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's almost like the simplicity of like a Midwest city is like, it's pretty nice actually. Like, of I don't have like being able to afford things is amazing. Or like for you, probably not having a roommate for the first time in a long time.
Amazing. Yeah. It's so quiet in here. No one comes home. No one bothers me.
Yeah.
It's nuts. I'm fucking 49 years old. For the last 3 years, I haven't had a roommate.
Yeah.
That's the first time. I don't have fucking $3,500 for like I didn't have the money.
Yeah. Yeah. And like you were saying, and then also just like the hustle and bustle of doing stuff. Like me and Damien joke about like going to Costco. For him to go to Costco is literally the worst thing in the world, to go to an LA Costco versus me, where I'm like, oh, I go on a Saturday. Like it's a little more busy, but like, it's like, yeah, you have to fight for parking spots. I was like, nope, not the Lincoln Costco. I just roll in, baby. Everything's always in stock.
Yeah. I pull up anywhere and I park.
Yeah.
There's always 100 spots everywhere. Yeah. Coffee shops. Sometimes I have to park a half block down, and I'm like, "What the fuck is going on in the coffee shop?
Yeah.
What is the fuck? Is Taylor Swift in here? What the fucking shit? There's 17 cars out here. This is insane."
Well, and I think even more frustrating than not having parking is when you go to a place in LA and there is no parking out front or even in the fucking lot that's designed for the parking. You're like, oh shit, here we go. It's going to be a line. I'm going to have to wait. And then you walk in and nobody's fucking there. Nobody who is parking here is here.
Right. Yeah.
This is illegal.
Yeah.
Set a precedent, would you?
And I'm dating someone who lives in Chicago. So I'll go there. I was there a couple weeks ago, and we went to her Aldi. So I'm big into Aldi. Love Aldi. I go to my Aldi, I would say conservatively 5 times a week, because I'm single. It's down the street. Yep. It takes me 7 minutes to get there. There's no park. There's the car wash is by there. There's a Walmart.
I just walk on through the car wash, get a nice little wash.
Do it. It's parking heaven, and it's so easy and stress free to do anything. And again, there's not a lot to do, but as a single man, I find it more responsible for me to not waste food. So I just what do I feel like eating today? Yeah. Well, I'll go buy it at Aldi. I went into the Chicago Aldi. Motherfuck. What a disaster. What a fucking nightmare hellhole. Shit was all out. There's 1,000 people in there. It had the parking lot was Trader Joe's esque. Yeah. Straight up. And this is a South Side Aldi. No, it is fucking nuts. And in little simple things like that.
The freezer section is hot. The produce section is freezing. I don't know what's going on here.
I know the people in the Aldi. Like that's the other thing with a small town. I know the people at Aldi. They know me. Mm-hmm. They know me at the coffee shop. All the workers. They know me at this. And I say hi to them, and they're happy because they're stress free too. Their money is dollar. Their dollar goes a long way. Also, they might make 3 times 4. They have no fucking stress. They got a boat, a fucking cabin. They're just chilling, and then they can do whatever they want. except for you have to live here, which, as discussed, a lot nicer neighborhood than I lived in when I was paying 7 times as much.
Yeah. Yeah. Imagine trying to find someone in LA with a boat that you could use.
Right. Yeah, lots.
Anyone who had a boat in LA, their boat and house is now burned down.
Burn my boat down.
You would think because it's on the water that wouldn't happen.
One would think.
Actually picked up by the giant swoopy planes with the water, just throwing a boat on someone's house.
Oh yeah, that could happen. Yeah,
they were trying to scoop up the seawater and just got Timmy's fishing boat by accident.
I think that happened. I think that's happened before. Or maybe it's in Magnolia. I can't remember.
Go for it, Christian. Sorry.
Yeah, so you've lived in, I think what you mentioned, Chicago, New York, and LA. What was your favorite one you've lived in?
Chicago, for sure.
Yeah.
Chicago, I think. Chicago, I think, is the perfect small size. It's a training wheel city. Mm-hmm. I think I went to Michigan State in East Lansing, so immediately after I graduated, I went to Chicago, and it was Xanadu. It was so fun, and it was a slightly different time. It's still nice there, but I can't speak to exactly what it's like, but I've heard some reviews about the trains and such. But you're taking the train, you're getting hammered. There's like all kind for fresh out of college kid to go to a place that has 4 and 5 a.m. bars, and you have a job and you're an adult and you can do whatever you want. Oh boy, it's just I can't say enough good things about the time I lived in Chicago.
And the fucking restaurant scene there. Yeah. God damn it,
food.
Dude.
Oh boy, I was so much thicker. I loved walking home, stumbling from the bars, going all over the sidewalk. I'd go into this Mr. G's place, and they'd get a Gyros, and then I'd eat it drunk, and then sometimes I'd stop at this Philly cheesesteak place, and I'd get that, and I'd forget I even had the Euro, and it's just all so good.
I fucking love it. I do have a quick question, I always do this, but I kind of want to take it back real quick because you're from Michigan, and I made a joke, or I think I made a joke earlier, I don't know, about you also being a Midwest bowl cut kid. And I want to go back to your childhood a little bit. Can you give a little bit of insight of like, what was it like growing up in your town in Michigan? And did it have any effect on what you ended up? Because you're a returner, and so did that have any effect on you leaving and coming back? Would you say, like, what was it like?
In comparison,
did you like growing up in Michigan?
Where like me and Damien definitely, funny enough, we're kids. We're like, oh yeah, we're getting out of here. We're not going to like.
I knew it from the beginning. I loved it, but I knew I was getting out.
Yeah.
I knew during college that I would be out. I don't think I had looked that far into the future before that, but it was probably in me that there was more. I needed more, and like when I grew up here in the '80s, it's an incredible place.
Yeah,
because we had GM plants, auto industry. Right. And what happened is all those closed. So we go down from, I think there's a population here, the last census was like 43,000.
Wow.
And that was like 2023. And it would be well over 100 when all the plants were open. And the street I lived on was a cul-de-sac in the city. And not perfect, but it was almost television-esque neighborhood with mowed lawns and neighbors drinking beer on the front on their driveway, saying hi to each other, and kids all over and big wheels and
the lawn chair on the driveway.
Yeah,
I love it.
Play 500 in the street. Catch with dad, like all that all the time. And again, this is an era with no phones or I was a paper boy.
Yeah.
And it was Xanadu. in retrospect, it was I pine for that, and everyone could afford their homes. I think my parents, I think they sold the house in '94 for like $30,000. So I don't know what they bought it for, but it was probably like $10,000, $12,000, $15,000.
Can you imagine?
Yeah. And now I would not get out of my car on the neighboring streets at night where I grew up, which is 3-4 miles from here. No, less. I'd say 2.
Yeah.
And that's really like, you can picture that type of scene, and then picture, like, I'm not afraid of anything, but I just would not feel I wouldn't feel comfortable on some of the neighboring streets from where I grew up. Like, and that's just a small sample size. It's all over.
Is Saginaw like Flint level, or is Flint still?
Flint still has the crown. Yeah. Saginaw's not quite to the Flint level, but it would be adjacent. It would be similar. But that's not to say, like anything else, that there isn't anywhere else. There isn't pockets of people that because I live in this type of neighborhood, there are lots of musicians, and there's people that have different aspirations, different creative painters, and there's a community theater, which is really, really nice down the street, and there's a lot of cool stuff. It's just not quite what it used to be.
Yeah.
But again, that harkens back to what I said before, where I needed to find, where are my people? And you're not just a bar booze bag.
Yeah.
You can find other ways to express yourself creatively. If I want that rush from stand up, I do karaoke.
Yeah.
I love karaoke.
What's your go-to song? Do you have a go-to?
I do Rainbow Connection.
Ooh.
Okay.
In the Kermit voice.
Yeah.
that does very well. I have about 10, but that's a really like holy shit one.
Can we get a little bit of it, right? So that's another theme of our podcast, is just me usually singing poorly. So I'd love to hear the Kermit.
Okay. There you go.
There it is. All right.
Yeah.
I'm on Sesame Street.
Yeah, so I go over to the junction over there, which has got it's got like a caboose, like part of the building. And it's like and then I'll sing Rainbow Connection, and people really jaw dropping, because they don't expect this voice to come out of my mouth. I'll sing, someday we'll find it, the Rainbow Connection, the lovers, the dreamers, and me. And I can do the whole song. But then in the interims, I like to do some different jokes about, having intercourse with Miss Piggy's, honey baked ham pussy. I'm just splacking away and getting it all in those guts. And
Damn. That's a clinic. Put on a clinic.
So I do that, and I do nothing but a G thing. So
all right.
Complete night and day. And
I love it. Keep them on the toes.
Jodeci, Come and Talk to Me, and then I've got a whole bunch of like Seeger type songs. But those are, I like that they're so different.
Yeah. Mine is "Don't Stop Me Now" by Queen. That's my.
That's bold.
It's let's just say it is tough to keep up.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's so you don't realize how fast paced that song is until you get up in front of people and you're nervous and you're drunk and you're like, oh yeah, he goes really fast. I got to keep up a little bit here.
Right. Yeah. You're spending too much time reading the words. You need to not stop.
Don't stop me now. I'm trying to do karaoke. Yeah.
But like that goes back to like I'm the show. It doesn't matter where I am. I don't need the audience. I'm happy just doing the thing. And it took me a long time to realize that you get the same drug doing karaoke. And I walk across the street, do like 3-4 songs. Owner's like, oh, you got a really good voice. All I need to do is hear that. My ego just likes it. And then they buy me a couple drinks and it makes me feel special. Yep. And then it's the same bullshit as if I played for fucking 300 people. It doesn't. But then I just walk across the street and in my place, I live by myself. and it's worth the trade. It's fucking worth it.
Yeah.
That is perfect. Well, I have a couple more questions, but I'll let Christian take it away here for a little bit if he's got some more.
No, you shoot away, Damien. They're probably the same questions I have. So,
and so I was going to first ask. So now that you're back in Michigan, you've kind of, in summary, it seems like you've really not only found who you are, but you're like thriving in that. And so,
yes.
I guess my question to that would be, as somebody who has pursued this career in entertainment and stand-up and selling shows and stuff like that, I'm curious, not only because you're on this podcast, but because we're huge fans of you, like, what is next for you? Like, are you thinking like that, or are you not even thinking that way anymore?
Not thinking that way at all.
Yeah.
Which is actually even more badass than having like a set list of like, oh yeah, here's the next thing. I like that.
I am honestly 100% content right now with no aspirations other than to continue doing what I'm doing. Yeah. And that's a really weird feeling for me, to be just completely content with where I am and what I do. And yeah, it's freeing. I think that taking that out of the equation and being content lets me make better choices for things that continue that, as opposed to taking this trajectory I'm on into a different direction. Like I still do some comedy things. I do some comedy writing for people and things like that, but I do it from here and I do it on my own terms, and it's really nice. And all of this, I should mention that I don't think that I would be content here or appreciate any of this if it weren't for my age and for having done the other things. So, I don't want to sound like I'm not grateful for those cities I lived in. I'm insanely grateful. Yeah. And I think I've done so much stuff. I've done all the stuff. People are like, don't you want to go travel? I'm like, I did a lot of stuff. I've done all the debaucherous party type stuff that you could ever imagine. More than one person should ever have the right to have this amount of fun. I've had more fun than I have any fucking right to have ever had. I've done all this stuff, and I feel like this is it's like medium retirement.
Yeah.
No, I think that is almost the slogan of being a returner is, yep, I went and did all the fun, and now I'm a little tired and I want to settle down.
With myself.
Or like in my case, like I have a wife and we want to start a family. And so it's like, well, let's go back to where our parents are for like free babysitting. And also we can afford to have a home.
Sure. Yeah. It makes total sense.
Yeah.
It's just like, I just think that I think fighting against what your path is sometimes you're just punching a brick wall.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of things that it's a personal flaw, is that I get bored with things once I figure out how to do them. And I think there's a point after I'd done this, there's this Just for Laughs festival, and that was a big deal.
Yeah.
And I don't even know if do they still have that? Does it still exist?
I think so. Yeah. If it's not a TikTok thing purely.
No,
anymore.
it's a real thing.
Like I did that, and that was like, I didn't see myself ever getting a stand-up special, and maybe that's what do you call it when you don't believe? Was it
like self-deprecating almost?
Oh, turn into Biden. What was that?
What do you call
Burns
that?
over here yelling about Aldi.
Let me smell your hair.
Well, fuck. There's a term for it when you don't believe. Oh, I'm taking way too much time.
Like almost self-sabotaging.
Oh, not self-sabotage. Try again.
Just keep guessing words, Damien.
I'm so bummed Biden's gone because I was really getting that nailed down.
Yeah. It's pretty on fire.
Yeah.
Now I'll never get any use out of it. But
there's plenty of clips.
False prophet. Fuck, someone's listening to this and like, it's fucking this, you stupid idiot. Regardless, I don't think I had a lot of confidence instilled in me or personally that I could go further and have like a Netflix special.
Almost
and
like
also
imposter syndrome. Is that
imposter syndrome? There it is.
Fuck
Thank
you, Christian. You
fucking
shit,
you're
dude.
all boozed up on Storbo Pop and fucking and Gutter-Rum, and your brain could have gave me that answer a lot faster. And now we had to.
I just had to make Damien look as stupid as possible.
You don't even have to try that hard. Did you see how much I failed?
I'm just a hero in my cape who shows up with the right answer.
By the way, Gutter-Rum might just have to be the name of this episode.
Best choice cola and Gutter-Rum.
That's brilliant.
So I think I got satiated. Like people have asked me, well, you could write another book. I could write another book. I don't want to.
Yeah.
They're like, well, you should. You're a really good writer. So what? I don't want to.
I'd be good at ripping tickets at AMC, but I don't want to do that either.
Yeah,
hey,
I used to be
a fun job. Actually,
I was a good baby clothes designer, and like my mom was like, "You were so." I'm like, "Yeah, I don't want to do that anymore. So why would I do it?
Yeah.
My whole life is set up to not have to do stuff I don't want to."
Yeah,
and
I'm a grown man.
Yeah. So I got a little bit. I feel like I'd get bored when I checked those things off, and so.
And I think
maybe I'm just lazy. Maybe I'm lazy. Is that it?
I don't know. It's hard because I know exactly what you're talking about because I'm the same way. I've been a job hopper my entire life. I go in at the ground level of a new thing. I get used to it. I get bored and I go, I'm panicking. I have to get out of here. And then I go and I take a huge pay cut. I go on the ground floor. I start a completely different career at the age of 30. You know what I mean? It's like, what are you doing? It's like, if I don't have a new task, I'm freaking out.
Yeah, it's almost like you're like avoiding attachment where it's career built, where if you continue down that path, you don't have another option.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's always been really scary to me that, oh, you're just this. Like, you don't get a next. Like, what's the next? What's the next job? Next relationship? What's the next? Mm-hmm. And again, I don't have that want to leave, and it's so peaceful and nice. I have a job. I love my job. I won't talk about where I work or anything. Yeah. But it's I like what I do, and I could do more. I could do things that people would deem important. I like it because it is what it is. It's just a job. Yeah. And that's great.
Would you call it like an everyday job?
Yeah, I work 7 days a week, but it's not all the time. Some days are less than more, but it adds up to be. But I work from home.
Yeah.
Sometimes I have a little thing to do. I do it on the golf course. Mm-hmm. Or I could do it at a bar, having a Bloody Mary on Sunday morning. And it gives me structure. I need that, which is very important because, like we talked, idle hands are bad for me. I'm grateful I have something that I have to do every day.
Yeah. No, I think that is almost like a societal problem. People don't seem to be okay with just being content where they are sometimes.
Yeah. It's this need to move forward, or what you perceive moving forward is. Mm-hmm. And again, that goes back to maybe it's not these outside things that you need to move. Maybe it's an internal thing. And that's what I'm trying to do now is internally, can I just move forward while staying in the same place?
Yeah. Well, and I think that also goes to the fact that it's like, let's say you are meeting new people or something, like you're being introduced to somebody for the first time. What is always the number 1 or 2 question people ask you? What do you do for a living?
Yes.
And it's like,
for sure.
You have to not much. Like, what is this, the Big Lebowski all of a sudden? Like, you can just answer that. No, you can't answer that way. You know what I mean? Like, you have to have an answer, and society has pressured you to have something that people are like, oh, wow, that's interesting. What is that about? And if it's not that, people go, okay. And then you're worthless to them. You know what I mean? So I think they want it to be grandiose. They want it to be big. And then couple that with what we've talked about, kind of like the mental illness or the depression side of things, where it's like, I'm already battling with myself. Now I have to battle with the opinions of a stranger who's trying to just make small talk with me.
Yeah.
Right. Or they want to know more. Like, that's what defines you. And that's what always bothers me. Like, do you like it? Like, doesn't matter if I like it. Like, do you like it? Yeah. It pays for my bar bill and golf and my Paramount Plus, so I can watch Lioness.
There you go. Actually, that's a fun one. I actually only had one more question, but that reminds me, we do recommendations on this podcast every once in a while. Do you have a recommendation that you can make to people about what you're watching or reading? You said you read now.
I'm reading The Life Impossible by Matt Haig right now. If you're interested in yoga, I would highly recommend Living Your Yoga, which that pretty lays out almost everything about, not everything, but a lot of how you can put that into your everyday life that's of interest to you. And even if you don't practice yoga, I think you have a lot of takeaways from that. Watching, I tend to get apps and then try and juice them.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
you gotta rotate through them.
I don't keep them all because I only
paying those.
If I'm watching one thing, I watch that one thing. I'm not bouncing around. And then if I don't need to watch Penguin. I have not seen Penguin. I want to see Penguin. I'll get that. I'll watch it all later because it's going to be gone when I watch it anyway.
Yep.
So I currently plowed through Landman, which I fucking loved.
Okay. Dennis Quaid? No.
Billy Bob.
Oh, Billy Bob Thornton. That's right.
And then I got caught up on season 2 of Tulsa King, which I very much enjoy. And now I'm watching Lioness. These are all Taylor Sheridan things. Taylor Sheridan also is a Yellowstone.
Yep.
The Yellowstone creator. So he makes all of those shows. Yeah. They're dude soap operas. It's Dude Bravo. Paramount Plus is Dude Bravo.
Yeah.
I love it. I only have one more question. Christian, did you think of anything else?
No, you pretty much have nailed it.
All right, you heard it here. So Christian won the returner, but I won the episode. So my last question that I like to ask everybody is, and forgive me because it does seem like where you're at now is pretty great, but the last question I like to ask, was that a ghost?
Or a mousetrap?
Yeah, it was a mousetrap.
Oh,
he's dead. He's
dead. That is
a
running theme on this fucking podcast.
So
yes.
I live in a 100-year-old house, and I think I got up to 13 mice. Like, it was like when it first got really cold here in Nebraska, and they scurry in. And so it was like Damien would do a daily chart of how many mice I had killed, and I think it got up to 13.
That is kismet right there.
Guys, you have no idea how excited I am. That motherfucker, he got in through the little side snake thing. I'm a OCD neat freak.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So this fucking everything is hotel quality. Like when you walk into a hotel, that's how I keep my house. It's so nice. This is another reason I like living alone because I can do that and no one's fucking up anything or leaving dirty dishes. Oh yeah. If you want a neat freak person who loves to go to Home Goods, I am your guy.
Yes.
You have to realize if you listen to my podcast, all that insanity, all that super dirtbag bullshit on there, that's part of me. That's the guy that's on that show, and that's the worst of me. Yep. The rest of me is pretty sweet, clean, nice, cooks for his mom type of person. And I always worry that people will think that that's who I am.
Yeah,
is this fucking dirtbag person, which sometimes in moderation, but for the most part, either way. That fucking mouse is dead. I can see him dead over there. And namaste to you, sir. And I don't like to...
Eternal yoga.
Yes.
I am a massive... I'm a big humane society,
Yes.
animal person. I love animals more than people. But that motherfucker came into my pristine house.
Yep.
And now you're my enemy. And now you're dead.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure it was just him. It was because I only saw
you gotta
one.
keep fingers crossed, though. You think it's just one, and then you're like, well, there's a family.
Well, yeah, that's what we're gonna see. I was sucking my weed robot dick the other day watching TV, and I saw this shadow go down, and I was like, oh fuck, I think I have a mouse in the house. And I think, and I couldn't confirm it because, it was super high, like midnight, watching Seinfeld reruns or something.
Yes.
And yes, he is fucking dead and deserved it. And I'm sorry if you're an animal person, but I am too. But that's an enemy in my home.
Yep. Yeah. How does death taste, you little fucker? Like peanut butter, huh?
The balls on him. Here,
right? Come to
go.
my house. Yeah.
You
show me
that?
that shit.
Can you see that down in the corner?
Can you go a little closer?
Oh yeah, I forgot I'm not plugged in.
We gotta show the people.
Yeah.
Oh, is this? There he is.
We'll blur it.
Oh,
hey,
yeah.
All right. Fuck you. Fuck you.
I hope it's just him. The balls though.
Yeah.
It's fucking the lights are on. I'm talking loud as fuck. The TV, lamps. So
you're watching some HBO shows. He's interested.
Yeah. Ooh, you watching The Lioness?
Ooh.
I've heard good reviews.
I think it was just him. So hopefully.
The gall, though, man.
That is so kismet. We talk about that shit all the time.
Yeah.
Now I have to like figure out how I'm going to dispose of this. My goal is probably going to be a hand in a whole like garbage bag, the whole thing. And I will pick up that trap and him, and it will go all directly into the dumpster. And then we'll see.
If you really wanted to offend anybody, you could always just say that you're going to throw it down the garbage disposal.
No, I'll give him a proper burial in the dumpster.
To be fair, I did. So I live in like a woodsy kind of neighborhood, so we have foxes, and essentially like sometimes the mousetrap wouldn't like fully get the mouse, so it'd be like, but it would be like he couldn't really move, so I'd like toss him in the backyard, and my wife was like, you're just like feeding foxes now. You're just giving them little snacks.
Now you need fox traps.
Oh yeah. See, it's a cycle,
Yeah.
It's a circle of life.
Yeah. Anyways,
I'm sorry, I stepped all over that. That was a big incident. But
I love it.
I stepped all over your last question.
No, I love it. I mainly just know that I got an alert that your storage is running low, which may be the most Midwest trash thing I've ever received on this podcast.
I have no idea why that's happening right now, but I feel like
that's never happened with a guest. But
I feel like this app that I had to download is got some sort of nefarious bullshit in it.
What you don't understand is that you actually signed up for our MLM scheme.
Yep.
When you signed up for it. So that's the hard part about this is I usually save that for the end. So now is when I break that to you.
Now we have your social security number, address, date of birth.
Good luck.
Yeah.
He's
like, I live in Michigan, dude.
Worse than I ever have.
Can I give you anything else, sir?
Right? Exactly. You could give me that dead rat for starters. I'm hungry.
It's a mouse.
Mouse. That's right. I apologize.
Also the theme of this is I've never seen a rat in the wild, as I say.
Oh, that was my big concern, was that it was a rat, and then I would have to burn everything.
That sounds about right for a rat. Yeah.
Oh my God, that might
an
be
event.
That might be the greatest tangent of all time.
Yeah,
on this podcast. Whew. All right, catching my breath here. Well, now I just have a boring fucking question to end it.
Oh, that's all right. We can juice something out of it.
Yeah. So, like I was saying, I realize that you kind of already answered this. It seems like you're great where you're at. But one of the last questions that I always ask personally is, if there was anywhere that you could live on Earth, nothing like money, family, all that shit doesn't exist, right? It's just like pipe dream, nothing else matters. Where would you live if you could live anywhere?
Lower East Side, New York.
Ooh. Can you expand on that as to why?
When I first moved to New York, I felt at home. And I felt very comfortable. There's something about the chaos there that actually works for my brain. Whereas the the spatial relations in LA were it wasn't comfortable for me to have to leave and drive and sit in traffic. Like it was just too much. But New York, when you walk out the door and it's just there, if it's just wherever you lived, it was there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if I could live in New York and be like, like a Liam Neeson, but without the pee pants, like when you see I love when you see the actors that live in New York, and they always have like the black overcoat, pea coat on or something with sunglasses and a scarf and a coffee, and they're just walking around with everyone else. And it's like fucking Jude Law, man. Yeah, I live here. Yeah. And like that would be really, really, but but the thing is, you live in New York, you probably live in some place that's not very great.
Yeah.
Or tiny, or in a rougher neighborhood, or what have you.
Well, and if you're Liam Neeson, you got to worry about your daughter getting abducted. You got to go find her.
Yeah. But like, if I could transplant this apartment there, which would be fucking about $10,000-$15,000 a month. Yeah. But for now, I have it here. And that goes back, I'm so grateful for that.
Yeah.
Some people would come here and be like, it's really nice apartment. Like, you don't have a deck or anything. No, you don't understand. This is the nicest place I've ever lived in. And it's all mine, and no one can take it away from me. Yeah. And if I lost my current job, I could get a job down the street at the pizza place or fucking TJ Maxx or the grocery store and be able to afford it. You can't take it from me until, this gets gentrified and everyone wants to raise my rent. But for now.
Yeah. That is something that I've had to come to terms with, as well as growing up poor in the Midwest, is no matter where we live, no matter what we do, I always have a plan for if we're going to be homeless or poor again. I'm like, don't worry, my car's paid off. I'll just buy an inflatable bed for the back seat. We'll just get a 24-hour membership. We can go shower there. We can get our workout. We can park in the parking lot of Walmart right across. Like, that's just something about that Midwest, like, poor brain where you're just like, oh, no matter what, I can figure it out. You know what I mean?
You can always just drive somewhere. You can always leave. And I don't think people get into this brain when they live in like a Los Angeles or New York that they're stuck there, because it feels daunting to have to like move your belongings and go somewhere else. You become so ingrained in those places.
Right.
But my advice to anybody would be absolutely move somewhere else. 100%. Do it now. Do it right away. If you want to, go to LA, go to New York, go to the city that you want to, because someday you'll be old, and I am I'll be eternally grateful that I did all of that. I can enjoy this because I did that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, fuck. I think that secures the win for Christian.
Yeah. And I think that's a perfect ending, to be honest.
I think that's it.
And if you don't want to move to like Los Angeles or New York, like I wanted to move to those places. Make no mistake. I wanted to go to those places so bad.
Right.
But if you don't.
Yeah. I think that's important too, right? Do what you want to do and don't do what you don't want to do. Yeah. I think that's what we're all shooting for in this eternal search for happiness, and ultimately the freedom is like, just don't do what you don't want to. Why are you doing things you don't want to do? I don't get it. Just don't do it. Who cares?
Yeah. Don't do it. Yeah. Do something else. Do the thing that makes you happy, as long as it doesn't hurt anybody and your bills are paid. Do whatever you want. You can always come home.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what I want at this exact moment? I want you to plug yourself anywhere that people can find you, your socials, your podcasts, anything, anywhere, your books, anything that people can find from you, because everybody owes it to themselves to check you out.
I would highly encourage anyone to subscribe to Power Moves with Mike Burns, and you can get that anywhere you get your podcasts. And you can follow me on Instagram at Pizza Nachos 69.
Great follow.
Yeah, those would be where I post on stories a lot. I'm really into stories. I love to just put. I like people to have a real experience.
Yeah.
And that's what you get from my podcast and any of my social. That's
You-
really what I made. That's really what
I
I'm
was
doing.
about to say, you post a lot of great looking food, which
Yeah,
I'm very jealous at.
I love cooking, but I haven't been able to enjoy it because of this dead motherfucker. But I shouldn't call you that. You're dead now. I shouldn't speak ill will of the dead.
Yeah.
You know, namaste. We want you to go up to, and this is the thing I do with roadkill. I bless them.
Yeah.
And then I do this, and then when I go to heaven, there's going to be an army, all these deer and raccoons and shit. That's just a little. It's probably late in the game for me to share that. But
well, it's like the Aragorn effect when he like made the deal with all the dead guys, the dead army. Yeah. It's like that. You're just building your dead army.
Yeah. It's exactly what I'm doing, and it's because who knows? That's what I want my heaven to be, an army of all these animals. And you can also go to patreon.com/Power Moves with Mike Burns, and you can listen to cards. That costs money, but if you listen to it, it's way, way over the top and way more exposing than anything else I do.
Yeah.
All these things they're art pieces, and that's a living art piece of me and my childhood friend Carl. From we've been friends since we were in preschool, since we've been 4 years old. We're the same age, and we rip on all of our friends on that podcast with graphic, vicious detail.
Yeah,
and that's why it's behind a paywall, because we don't want anyone to get fired or us get fired.
And it's not like it's crazy expensive, right? What is that per month, roughly?
$5 a month.
Yeah. $5 a month for priceless stories. Come on now.
Yeah. And it's every week, and it's a lot of fun. But I like that you guys live in different places, your buddies, and I think that's important too. Mm-hmm. Like I have friends that live in the South that grew up here. I have friends that live in Grand Rapids who I can visit on a regular basis. I have friends that have lived in the South, and I think that all my core group of friends are all my buddies from high school and childhood. That's who I've retained all those people, and I talk to them all day long. And the more people that do interesting things, I think it really improves your friend group and the discussions you can have while you're in Los Angeles and you're trying to make it in this career, in this business, and you want to start a family with a wife. That's so interesting. Being the exact same is boring, but being to live vicariously through different people's lives and having different things to bring to the table, like that just makes friendship and your core group so much better.
And now we get to talk to people like you and people with all these different experiences. And that's the benefit of living elsewhere and having a podcast like this, is like you really do get to learn a lot about not only an individual person, but also a lot about kind of just society and, culture in general, which is,
absolutely.
We've had people from Dubai and England and all over the place.
Yeah, we got really into like indie British band scenes there for a bit.
I don't know where that came from, but
love it.
Yeah, they just kept asking us to be on the pod, and we're like, sure. And
great.
So it's been a lot of fun doing that.
Well, this is a good show, boys. Stick with it.
Yeah,
I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Well, enough of the shameless plugs of our own podcast on our own podcast. But goddamn, dude, what an awesome show. We really appreciate you coming on, man.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. I had a good time.
Yeah, that was awesome. Well, until next time, everybody. Bye.
Bye. Bye.